1973's Horror Hospital is a film that I can hand on heart say was a chance encounter watch if ever there was one. Back in October, I was browsing Facebook and a promoted ad to a film distribution company came up announcing they were having a Halloween sale. I was initially drawn to their Grindhouse trailer compilation sets, but Horror Hospital jumped out at me as looking interesting and it was going for a damn good price, so I decided to just throw it in with some other movies I was picking up at the time and give it a roll of the dice. And I was kinda, sorta, not disappointed. The film follows Robin Askwith as Jason Jones, a music or talent manager who's had enough of the hustle and bustle of modern life. He's fed up with lousy bands, he's fed up of people stealing his thunder, and he's fed up of the whole damn scene. He's considering quitting the industry altogether when he spots an advert for a hairy holiday, a proto-club 18 to 30 package holiday marketing gimmick that's offering discount holidays to those who need it. Jason jumps at the chance, and after a visit to the travel agent who spends the entire time trying to get to know Jason as much more than a friend, Jason settles on a countryside health retreat, and as an extra bit of value to the deal, he leaves the same day. He heads to the train station and catches the next passing locomotive to the middle of nowhere to attend Brittlehurst Manor, an old manor house that has a rest and relaxation program led by a certain Dr. Christian Storm, played by Michael Gough, a mysterious and oft unseen wheelchair-bound practitioner whose program is a closely veiled secret. While on the train, Jason meets Judy, a lovely, if not quiet young lady who bears the full brunt of Jason. But I'll get to that later. Judy and Jason get to know each other, and it's revealed that Judy has an aunt who's currently working with Dr. Storm at the manor. Judy hasn't seen her aunt in a good while, and when a series of letters to her fail to yield any kind of a response, Judy decides to just head on over and check things out herself. The pair bond quite quickly, and in almost no time at all, they arrive, only to find that the car that Judy had booked to take them to the manor has failed to materialise, and the station master is deeply unhelpful and weird. Nevertheless, Jason and Judy head up to the manor on foot, and after a spot of heavy rain, they arrive soggy but safe at the manor house. Almost immediately, there's a sense that something isn't quite right. For starters, the manor's almost abandoned, despite there allegedly being only one room left in the whole house. It's at this point we're introduced to Frederick, a dwarf who acts as assistant to Dr. Storm and kinda does a bit of everything around the manor house. He's initially quite cryptic and creepy to Jason and Judy, but he escorts them to their room, and on the way there they see what looks like a murder scene in one of the rooms, which does nothing to help their general sense of unease. Anyway, they strip off, obligatory nude scene and quasi-softcore sex scene, and then it's tea time. And this is the point where they realise that things are most definitely not quite right. Everyone at the table has strange scarring on their heads, they don't speak or even really acknowledge Judy or Jason being there, and before any food is even really bought out, one of the weirdos freaks out, screaming uncontrollably to the point that they have to be forcibly carried out of the room by armed guards. It was enough to put the pair off eating. The straw that breaks the camel's back is when Jason goes to turn the tap on in their bedroom and the sink runs red with blood. This is because Frederick dumped a couple of severed heads into the water tank either as a joke, or a warning, or something. It's not really made all that clear. Either way, this is the moment we're introduced to Dr. Storm formally, who, without mincing his words, informs the pair to stay in their room for the foreseeable, and when the time comes to start the relaxation, they'll be summoned. Neither of the pair even begin to contemplate staying put, so Jason sneaks out into the grounds to see what exactly is going on in the place, while Judy heads out into the manor to look for Jason. And both find way more than they bargained for, as it transpires that Dr. Storm's relaxation program involves essentially corrective brain surgery and possibly some kind of psychic implantation to transform these people into mindless zombies controlled by tones, pitches and psychic command. And Jason and Judy are pretty much next in line for the treatment. Judy is restrained and Jason is locked in a cell and all seems lost. But when the boyfriend of one of the girls who's been lobotomized turns up to look for her, it gives the gang just enough push to try and put the doctor's practice on ice, and an attempt to escape ensues, hopefully with their senses intact. In a surprisingly lavish third act finale that I can assure you won't be forgotten in a hurry. Right out of the gate, I've got to get this off my chest right away. Jason's a cunt. He is. He just is. He's a fucking cunty cunt. Unless you're one of the anti-PC brigade, you'll find him almost entirely cuntish from minute one. If it isn't ardent transphobia or homophobia in literally the first 5 minutes, it's misogyny and being an actual sex offender. The moment I wished an ardent and horrid death to Jason came to me at around the 15 to 20 minute mark in the film, where he gets overly sexual in tone with Judy while on the train and she gets up to leave, only for him to say, "Don't worry love, I'm not gonna rape you or nothing," or words to that effect. What a cunt. Then to make matters worse, Judy comes back in and excuses his behaviour by apologising for being a prude and not playing ball with his weird sexual advances. The pair literally met 5 minutes previously and she was well within her right to fuck him off after that. And if not then she absolutely should have at the point in the film where he full on sneaks into her bathroom while she's showering to get an eyeful while wearing nothing but a helmet and his pants. He then proceeds to basically grope her, which leads to sex. It's painful to a 21st century viewer with a semblance of a conscience. He's thick, arrogant, and I tremendously disliked him. I should say though that while he is a cunt, he's not irritating in the same way that Alan in Return to Sleepaway Camp is a cunt. Alan was unbearable. Quite honestly, that's the only thing that saves him from rendering this entire movie unwatchable. But as a lead protagonist, he's a cunt, and I hate him. The script itself is fine. Good even. It's a faux gothic campy horror movie that feels like XX Amicus, and it follows the traditional 3-act structure pretty faithfully. And even though you pretty much know right from minute one what's going to happen, it's seeing our main characters in this perilous situation but completely unaware that they're in any danger that keeps the audience watching. It's the suspense that at any moment our main characters will figure out what's happening that acted as a surefire way to keep me hooked. I would say that around the zombie lunch scene, the suspension of disbelief that our characters would realise something was wrong is pretty much crossed. No one who actually attended that dinner would have left it with anything else on their minds other than let's get the hell out of here. Let alone how calm Jason is when he sees someone literally get decapitated in the main courtyard. One has to assume that both Jason and Judy are really, really thick, or just have a very high threshold of consciousness in understanding when they're in danger. On the whole, the pacing's alright. There are a couple of scenes that probably could have been shorter. Of note, Frederick trying to break Jason and Abe, the boyfriend, out of jail is at first a funny scene, but quickly becomes a dry and overly awkward sequence that drastically overstays its welcome. What probably occupied a line or two in the script is easily a full 5-minute sequence in this film. There are a few moments like that. Stuff that couldn't have taken more than a paragraph in the script takes bloody ages to happen on screen, with mixed results. But on the whole, it keeps a nice balance between tension, action and scares, which is definitely a winner. The dialogue's not too bad either, though I'll be the first to admit this is one of those films where it's let down by the performances in places. More on that later though. In fact, the only thing I disliked about the script, characterizations aside, is the ending, which just went a bit too far into surrealness. I won't spoil it, but when they pulled what I think they assumed was an ace out, I just groaned and went, oh fuck off, no chance mate. And I'm sure if you watch it, you'll probably have the same thought. The script was written and directed by Anthony Balch. As a director, he has 6 credits, 3 for what appear to be moody, introspective, experimental movies, my wheelhouse, and 3 that are completely different from each other. Genre pictures in essence, a drama, a sex comedy, and this respectively. As a writer, he has 3 credits, all for things he's directed, and that's a lot, sadly. This was his last directed work, and he unfortunately passed away in 1980. Also on hand was Alan Watson, who also helped to write the screenplay. This is his only credit, and his current whereabouts are unknown. While the script may be problematic, if not half decent, the direction will almost certainly win you over. It's lush, utterly delightful to sit through, with a very distinctive style and some wonderful locations to work with. Balch really gets his all out of this film. It's classy, much classier than it probably deserves to be. As a personal favourite touch, and this probably wasn't intentional, they've chosen to go for Hammer-style ultra bright red blood, which is great as it contrasts with the 70s styles and colour schemes of the time wonderfully. In fact, it must be said that given that this film was made in the height of the beige and orange era of the 70s, it's superbly colourful and really pops, especially in the Blu-ray edition I have. Of note, the opening title sequence, which just has something as simple as a steady stream of blood pouring down the middle of the screen, is just perfect. It's minimalist, well-paced, and the choice to score the film with string-based DeWolf tracks only enhances what is frankly lovely viewing. Married to the wonderful direction, we have some next-level Cine, which really set my socks on fire. There's everything from panning dolly shots to Dutch angles to full-blown experimentation. It's just lovely to sit through, and whichever lucky bugger it was who got to work with such fantastic locations and sets, I'm sure they savoured every moment. If I had to pick fault, there are a couple of shots where effects are used and, well, there's no way to hide that the effects were cheaply done. Probably the most noticeable being in the third act, where if you look closely at the sections of the building on fire, you'll clearly see the piping that's been laid to spit fire out. Not perfect, but not completely unavoidable either. On that subject, the effects here are a bit of a mixed bag. The zombies look fine, the deaths are nicely done, but there are quite a few moments where the effects just don't quite land. Particularly around Dr. Storm, who, without going too much into spoilers, easily bears some of the worst brunts of effects in this movie. I'm not going to beat around the bush. When they're good, they're alright, but when they're bad... ugh. I mean, it's kind of lucky that this is a film that doesn't 100% take itself seriously, otherwise I'd have the unfortunate job of performing an autopsy on the effects in this one. Not that not taking yourself seriously is a free pass to be shit at effects, just that it's at least a little bit more understandable. Performance-wise, oh god, it's so polarising. Robin Askwith, despite my damning verdict on the character of Jason, plays it perfectly. I can't fault him. He's asked to play a cunt and he plays it brilliantly. I only really knew him from the Confessions of series before this, and this movie actually has a couple of scenes that would foreshadow some of the lusty shenanigans he'd get up to in those movies. So I know he can play both sides of the cheeky cockney twat range, which is why I feel a bit more confident in saying that he really puts his all into making Jason out to be an out-and-out dickhead. While he does have a couple of nice moments where the character opens up a bit more, there's simply no escaping that 70s all-man archetype. Michael Gough also plays an absolute storming performance as Dr. Storm. He has such a menace about him that without really even having to say anything, he commands an atmosphere that's oppressive and deeply unpleasant. He's simply fantastic here, and while in my opinion he doesn't really get the send-off fitting of his performance, I suppose putting in 100% for the majority of the rest of the film is more than good enough. Arguably the worst performer in this has got to be Vanessa Shaw as Judy. According to the behind-the-scenes feature on this Blu-ray, one of the production staff mentions that she'd never done anything before this movie and seemingly had no formal training. A quick IMDb search confirms a string of walk-on and extra roles for television, but this was her last and only film credit. And my god, she's painful. I can only recall one or two deliveries she actually makes that doesn't sound like she's reading directly from the script for the first time just off camera. She's stiff, awkward, and if it weren't for Askwith being such a twat, she'd stand out even worse than she currently does. It's just a painful performance. Her only redeeming quality being that she screams quite splendidly, so she's not totally irredeemable. The rest of the cast pretty much play to a standard. Skip Martin and Ellen Pollock are both wonderfully camp and menacing as Frederick and Aunt Harris respectively. Kurt Christian is fantastic as Abraham, a character who I quite desperately wanted to be our actual leading man in this, as he's courteous, not a cunt, and as soon as he does turn up, the actual fun and action begins. Had Abe been leading this picture, it would have ended in 40 minutes, and he would have rescued his missus, and tied everything up with the best possible ending. He's that good. Finally, the soundtrack, and it's superb. The majority of the music, barring I believe the title track, is actually library music from DeWolf, and it's perfectly selected for this feature. It's got a wonderful grandness with eerie strings and a full sound that emphasises the gothic location work perfectly. It's one of those elements that makes the film. It'd be a much poorer show without it, and it acts as the string that ties all the other technical elements together. Horror Hospital has a bit of a weird release history, truth be told. As far as I can research, it didn't have a VHS release until 1993 when Vipco released it as a post-cert. Deep down, my gut's telling me that can't possibly be right, though. So if you know of an earlier release, please let me know in the comments, as the idea that this movie didn't get a pre-cert release disturbs me. It also doesn't appear to have had a DVD or Blu-ray release until 2015, when both came out at the same time, which again, doesn't quite sit right with me. Again, more than happy to be proven wrong on this, so if you do know of a UK DVD release for this one that came out before 2015, please do let me know. I own the Blu-ray release of this, and the picture quality is lovely. There are a few inserts that seem a little worn and overly grainy, but for the most part this looks near pristine and positively pops with colour and detail. It's also got a nice range of extras, with a full-blown making of being a definite highlight of this set, a feature commentary track, and an interview with Robin Askwith about his experiences of shooting the film. There's also an original trailer, which is always a winner. It's a pretty comprehensive package that left me feeling overall pretty satisfied. Horror Hospital is a fun, campy little piece of popcorn fluff with a slight tinge of the Rocky Horror about it. It's also, however, problematic to a 21st century viewership. It deals with themes that are very much uncomfortable to sit through, and while it eventually pushes through that more or less by the second act, that does hold it back from being a truly enjoyable piece of cinema to me. It does, however, have some gorgeous Cinean direction, a set of half-decent performances, and a killer soundtrack. While a few bad characterizations and a set of ropey effects will make or break this movie for some of you, I'd personally say check it out. I think it would make a great B-picture to movies like The Mutations, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, or Psychomania. So if you're in the mood for a double feature and you really want to class up a grindhouse night or find the perfect partner to marry up to your Mad Doctor Crazy Creature feature double header, Horror Hospital may well be the one to watch.